Right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Wachuku, and this is World News at 6. Here are the top stories. House of Rep rejects bill on rotational presidency. Rivers women protest abduction of 8 WAEC students. Justice Nyako to deliver a final judgment on Akpoti Uduagan suspension case on June 27. World Bank exposes NNPCL. Lagos police block roads near APC Secretariat amidst protest. ISWAP terrorists take over Mate Council area in Borno after dislodging Nigerian army capturing soldiers. And on stories outside the shores of Nigeria, white Afrikaners landing US as Trump declared refugees. Details now. Thank you for staying with us. The House of Representatives has voted against a proposal aimed at modifying the 1999 Constitution to establish a rotation system for the offices of the President and Vice President amongst the 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria. You recall that the proposal introduced by Deputy Speaker Benjamin Okezie-Kalu was titled A Bill for an Act to Alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Cap C-23, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to provide for the principle of rotation of the offices of the President and the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria among the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, namely North Central, Northeast, Northwest, Southeast, South-South and Southwest, and for related matters. This bill was one of 7 constitutional amendment proposals scheduled for a second reading in the House Order Paper for Tuesday, May 13, 2025. Following the reading of the titles of these bills by the House Leader, the Deputy Speaker, who was presiding over the session, invited lawmakers to share their views on the proposals. During the discussion, House of Rep member Aliyu Madaki, representing NNPP Kano, expressed his opposition to the bill, asserting that the existing constitutional principle of federal character sufficiently covered the concerns it aimed to address. He contended, however, that in that particular regard with the provisions of federal character, that regarding the zoning of the presidency, there should be left to individual political parties, arguing against the necessity of embedding such a provision in the constitution. Meanwhile, Rep. Sada Soli, representing APC Katsina, also opposed the bill, stating that the proposed legislation would be detrimental to national unity and could result in the prioritization of mediocrity over competence. In response to Soli's stance, Kalu thereby rejected the motion of promoting mediocrity, asserting that every geopolitical zone in the nation possesses qualified individuals capable of holding the offices of President and Vice President. He emphasized that the bill's purpose is to guarantee that all regions of the country can participate in governance and national development. Rep. Shina Oyedeji expressed his opposition to the bill, arguing that the core of democracy lies in healthy competition. Well, women of the Bile the Bile community in Dagama local government area of Rivers State have staged a protest at the government house in Port Harcourt, demanding the release of 8 students who were abducted by suspected pirates while in a boat traveling from Port Harcourt to Bile to sit for the ongoing WAEC exams. Recall that suspected pirates had jacked 3 boats with various goods and property worth millions of naira and kidnapped 13 passengers in the Port Harcourt Bile waterways on May 6, 2025. Following the incident, the Chairman, Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria, Port Harcourt Commercial District, Israel Pepple, had said that they will suspend transport operations to compel the government to take the necessary action to protect the waterways from what he termed incessant pirate attacks. The women, under the aegis of concerned people of Bile Kingdom, clad in black attires, displayed several placards and chanted songs to drive home their demands. Some of the inscriptions of the placards read, "Government, save us from sea pirates. Our children going to right Wayak are with the pirates in the bush. Some have been raped and believed people are suffering the hands of pirates, amongst others. The women had first marched to the state police headquarters along Moscow Road, Port Harcourt, and later moved to the government house along Azikiwe Road, where they terminated the protest. Some of the women who spoke to newsmen alleged that the heavily armed pirates also raped their daughters and disposed of their belongings. Now to security matters. A military source who spoke very recently to correspondents under condition of anonymity confirmed that terrorists launched a series of coordinated attacks that eventually forced the Nigerian army to abandon its position in the area by 3 a.m. on Sunday. Suspected fighters of the Islamic State of West Africa province have taken full control of Mate local government area, Borno State, after overpowering Nigerian troops in a brazen attack that happened over the last weekend. A military source who spoke to Sahara reporters under condition of anonymity thereby confirmed that the terrorists launched a series of coordinated attacks that eventually forced the Nigerian army to abandon its position in the area by 3 a.m. on Sunday, May 12, 2025. Well, the information being confirmed received from the inner source indicated that Mate had been dislodged after intermittent attacks, and the military personnel were finally dislodged at 3 a.m. of 12th May 2025. Gunshots were heard in Dikwa, and the Nigerian Air Force were seen hovering the general area. Numbers of casualties were unspecified at the time. The fall of Mate, a strategic local government in the Lake Chad axis, marks another major setback for the Nigerian military, which has long struggled to contain the decade-long insurgency in the northeast. The town has changed hands multiple times in recent years, becoming a symbolic and tactical prize for both ISWAP and government forces. Well, scores of the Nigerian soldiers were killed after the base of the Nigerian army in Borno State came under heavy Boko Haram attack. The terrorists invaded the base of the 153 Task Force Battalion in Marte Local Government Council of the state on Saturday night, also dislodging the troops. During the attack, the gunmen reportedly burned armored tanks, made away with ammunition. Well, there were about 48 or 47 of the armored tanks that were taken away by these terrorists. Well, in Borno State, Nigeria, there have been several incidents with this Boko Haram, including ambushes and recaptures of strategic locations like Mate. This is coming a few weeks after 22 soldiers, including a commander, were killed in an attack at a military base in Malam Faturi and Abadam local government area, Borno State. For over a decade, Nigeria has been locked in a brutal conflict with insurgent groups operating primarily in the country's northeastern region. Elsewhere, Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court in Abuja has set June 27, 2025 for the delivery of a final judgment in the case filed by suspended Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. VP News understands that Akpoti-Uduaghan is challenging her suspension from the Senate, which she claims was unjust and biased. The suspended senator filed a lawsuit after the Senate, led by Senate President Godswill Akpabio, suspended her over allegations of misconduct. Akpoti-Uduaghan, however, believes that the suspension was influenced by bias and political motives. In her case, she included the National Assembly, the Senate President, Senator Neda Imaswam, who chairs the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Code of Conduct, as defendants. Initially, the case was being handled by Justice Obiora Ewatu, but after he stepped down, it was reassigned to Justice Binta Nyako. The latest hearing of the case was held on Monday, where the court was informed that both parties had submitted the necessary documents for the case as previously directed by the court. The World Bank has recently disclosed that the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has not been remitting full revenue from fuel subsidy to the Federation account. The World Bank also disclosed that it was in October 2024 that the federal government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu fully removed the subsidy, but NNPC started remitting the 50% revenue from January. This was contained in the bank's Nigeria Development Update report released on Monday, May 12. The report said Nigeria's fiscal outlook remains optimistic but hinges in the necessary consolidation of recent advances. It is essential to ensure that the full revenue gains from the removal of PMS subsidy, estimated at about 2.6% of the GDP in 2024, are transferred to the Federation. Despite the subsidy being fully removed in October 2024, NNPCL started transferring the revenue gains to the Federation only in January 2025. Since then, it has been remitting only 50% of these gains, using the rest to offset past arrears. The World Bank further faulted President President Tinubu's 2025 budget. It described the budget's revenue expectations as overly ambitious. According to the report, while the budget aims to boost capital spending, only fiscal discipline could help the government effectively implement the budget. World Bank urged fiscal discipline and transparency amongst governors and federal government to maintain the country's optimistic development outlook. While in Lagos State, operatives of the Lagos Police Command have set up roadblocks on the route leading to the All Progressives Congress State Secretariat on Akma Road, Ikeja, in an effort to restore order amid growing protest over the results of the recent local government primaries. VOP News gathered that the protests, which began on Monday, have been fueled by accusations of imposition and manipulation of election results. Aggrieved aspirants have voiced their concerns, claiming that popular candidates were sidelined in favor of others in the primaries. The roadblocks positioned at both ends of Akma Road have caused significant traffic disruptions, with vehicles diverted to alternative routes. The move has impacted local businesses as daily commuters and traders face delays in reaching their destinations. Since the announcement of the primary results at the APC State Secretariat last Saturday, protesters have gathered at the site to air their grievances, demanding a review of the process and a fair resolution. On Monday, protesters from Olorunda local government area in Badagry and Etiosa in Lagos Island marched to the APC Secretariat to voice their discontent. By Tuesday, additional protests had erupted, with groups from Mushi and Agbado Kyodo joining the chorus of dissatisfaction. The protesters accused party officials of manipulating the results, imposing candidates without considering the wishes of local voters. The escalating protests have prompted the APC to take steps to address the concerns of the disgruntled aspirants. In response to the protests, the Lagos APC has established an appeal committee tasked with reviewing complaints from the dissatisfied aspirants. You're currently listening to the World News at 6 right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. We took a very short break. When we return, we'll head into a news analysis segment where I actually have right here in the studio Mr. Dele Fanimo, who is a political, national and social affairs commentator, to kindly stay with us. Welcome back. This is still the World News right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. Mr. Dele Fanimo, good evening and thank you for joining us today.
Always my pleasure. Good evening, Esther.
Mr. Dele Fanimo, let's start off with this unfortunate incident in Borno State, Mate, where the Boko Haram were actually took over this particular army barracks. They captured some of the Nigerian armies. The videos are actually out there. If you're watching us on YouTube, you would actually see what is going on with the Nigerian soldiers that were captured by Boko Haram, and some of their ammunition, what trillions of naira, 47, I think about 47 tankers or so were taken by these elements. It's become quite unfortunate. Just last week, a House of Rep member that was representing a particular constituency, that is Yusuf Gagdi in Plateau State, called out on the Defense Ministry, on the Nigerian military, that the people in their constituents, that's the people in their various local governments, are being attacked on a daily basis by these insurgents, and they used weaponized drones. The Defense Minister, Badari, came out to discountenance that, possibly trying to sideline the potency of what that House of Rep member said. Then later he had to adopt the 2-day National Convention on a Security Summit. This same local government where this thing happened in the north, we also heard of another one where they were attacked by Boko Haram and military commander was killed. The picture of that military commander is all over social media. Mr. Dele Fanimo, what exactly is going on? The Nigerian government has told us not to talk about these insurgents. They were sort of giving them publicity. But the Nigerian soldiers have families. They also have emotions too. How would we not talk about this? How would we not report this? It's not like we're trying to give them any attention. But if you have seen what these Boko Haram members are doing and what they have done, it demoralizes. How do you react to this, sir?
Well, Esther, I must confess to you, since this latest one broke out yesterday, I've been worried because it's worrisome. It's much more than what we are looking at. If non-state actors can be daring to the extent of infiltrating military barracks and routing soldiers inside the military base, then it calls for concern. Honestly, I woke up this morning, I was expecting defense headquarters to tell us that it's not true. Because I've lived in the barracks. My early life, I was in the barracks. I know how security situation in the barracks were then. So I imagine that a whole barracks, this is not a story building that is made up of so many buildings, the artillery department, the logistics department, supply and all that. And then one ragtag element will come into that barracks with that audacity to attack the barracks and even burn down armored personnel carrier. These tanks don't come cheap.
At all.
It doesn't come cheap. And they even took some away.
About 47 of them.
Now, if they had to take those armored tanks away, then Nigeria as a whole is in trouble. Except these guys are intercepted. And I'm even told, I read it, that some white men were part of these people that came. Not Africans. White men. Which means Boko Haram elements are so rich now that they are engaging mercenaries. It's much more than the way we're just looking at it. So now you can now see why kidnapping has not abated. At the last counts, before the close of last year, they said over 2 trillion were made from kidnapping and ransom taking alone last year.
Mr. Dele-Fanimo, if you see the latest video on what is being done to the Nigerian soldiers, I really don't want to see what these Boko Haram members will do. They are young boys. If you see the faces of the soldiers, young boys between the age of 16, 17, 18, 20. And right here as I'm sitting, I'm having goosebumps. I'm afraid. I really don't want to see what would happen to these young men. They took them, put them on the floor in a deserted area. They were shouting their usual chants when they catch these people. They tied their hands behind the back, put something. I really don't know what they want to do, the visual they want to create, but I don't know why the Defense Ministry, the Nigerian Army, the DSS, any of the security operatives, the command in charge of this designation has not come out to say something. They need to say something about this. How did Boko Haram dislodge this particular barracks? It tells you, because the soldiers were quite many, so it tells you it's a large barracks. So how did they get access? How did they surround this area that some of them had to leave, some of them ran away and escaped, some were routed out, and their weapons, most of what they had taken, all their tanks. Who is providing intelligence? I know the military has been trying. Very recently, the Chief of Army Staff went to the war front in Borno there to just give them that encouragement. But you see the Nigerian Army fighting. You see them asking for more recruits. But I don't know who is arming these terrorists, who is giving them the impetus to do what they're doing. Mr. Dele-Fanimo, the country is in a fragile state where we cannot be fighting economic hardship, we cannot be fighting to survive, and at the same time, you cannot be safe.
You see, I just said it earlier that it is, you see, those days, when we are very young, they will tell you if you kill a soldier, you have invited trouble.
Exactly.
And if you kill a major, you are already at war.
I mean, you saw what happened in Okwama. So
what I am saying is that I'm looking at it from 2 angles.
Okay.
One, is it that we don't have enough intelligence to anticipate this attack? Because this attack is not just one-off thing. It must have been coordinated, and the way they came to the barracks showed that the level of intelligence of the military in this particular case is suspect. Now, apart from that, when you begin to see non-state actors displaying that kind of courage, then you should know that the signs are ominous. The signs are just too dangerous for anybody to just fold his arm and begin to expect miracle from somewhere. It calls
for this to have happened. They didn't even know. They didn't get a whisper of an information of these insurgents coming close, because it happened way early in the morning. And this thing happened since Saturday. We're just getting to know about it. This thing happened since Saturday. Now, the Minister of Information and Orientation, Mohammed Idris, has told us that we shouldn't report these things, that because we will be publicizing and giving them more impetus. But how do we not report this? These are young men, young boys who left their families to come fight for their country. And you're saying that when something as tragic as this happens, we shouldn't report it? But when they win, they also report it. Why shouldn't we talk about it? And like you said, you were expecting that there would have been an information that debunks it, that says, okay, what we're saying is not true, or maybe it's somewhere else, maybe in the Lake Chad, in Cameroon, or somewhere else. And they were busy chanting there. Up till now, we're saying that if we have all the Air Force fleets or whatever available, naval fighter jets and helicopters, that between Saturday night and now, they've not been able to track where these individuals went to in that particular forest, because it's a very deserted area. You want to tell me that?
What forest are you going to see? There's no thick forest in Sambisa and Borno State.
So it's an arid spatial land. Okay, so why have they not been able to get the location of these guys? If you see the motorcycles, this is on land. If you're watching the video, you see their motorcycles packed, and they were jubilating. They were happy because to them this is supposedly a big win.
Of course, you see, what we are saying is, I sympathize with the military. I sympathize with the soldiers.
It's heartbreaking
because they are like sitting dogs. Let me tell you, why I'm sad is, if you have contact with some of these military officers, they will tell you that their hands are tied.
Who is tying their hands? Is there some political bureaucracy attached to the order?
You see, the truth about it is, a soldier does not go to war without the prompting of an officer.
Okay.
And the moment you are called to retreat from battle, and if you fail to retreat, you have committed an offense against the state. That's the way the military is structured. In fact, you are trained not to argue with your superior. So I want to believe, honestly, Esther, if you ask me, I want to hear any moment from now that this thing is not true.
Yes, I hear.
That it's AI induced.
This doesn't look AI.
No, I'm just telling you.
Okay.
You know, there are certain things that you know that is true, okay, but you want to wish it away because it's disheartening. It's shocking. You know, these are young boys cut down in their prime, and they went there believing that they want to protect the integrity of the nation, and then one marauder who doesn't have any iota of sense of responsibility just comes and then rout these people. Honestly, it's difficult for me to wrap it around my head. It's very difficult because this is humanity we're talking about.
Yeah.
And if you have blood flowing in your veins, you would understand what that means. Those guys, they were never armed robbers. They were never drug pushers. They did the legitimate thing, and it was too cheap for them to die that way.
That way, scary. It's not
cheap.
Good to go through that way. I'm sure they knew what it means for them to enroll in this. Like I said, they are too young. I'm seeing the video and the pictures. The boys look so young, very, very young men. It's really quite sad. But Mr. Delifanimo, in regards to this, as we're talking about the state of insecurity, I would have expected that today that the National Assembly converged. There were quite a couple of things they talked about, and some bills they actually were promulgating, some they put aside. I thought that this would be a matter of urgent public importance. I thought that this would be what they would discuss at the National Assembly, but up till now, we haven't. It was only the House of Reps who possibly were, representing their constituencies where Boko Haram has been really affecting them that spoke last week. But the National Assembly did not even discuss. They didn't see this as part of their order paper.
That was why I said, I think it was last week that I was telling somebody that what is the importance and significance of Akwabo Natacha issue when we have people being killed in villages, in towns, and those assailants just kill and majestically walk out of that community without anybody challenging them. 51. You see, the thing has also almost become a figure.
Yeah.
Like statistics. We're not looking at the humanity embedded in this.
All right, Mr. Delifanimo, let's move on to the NNPCL. So we just got to know that fuel subsidy was completely removed in October of 2024, and not that May 29 that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu announced that fuel subsidy has been removed, and that it was until January 2025 that the NNPCL started remitting about 50% of the subsidy from revenue. So where has the government been paying for subsidies since, May that the president declared fuel subsidy was removed? If the president, because I remember in the media chat, one of the journalists asked the president that, okay, was there no alternative measure, all right, that could have been applied while we're trying to carefully, gradually, completely remove fuel subsidy? The president said there was nothing available. There was no cushioning effect. There was no pillar. There was nothing to fall back on. And that the budget no longer had that particular conduit to accommodate subsidy. In other words, the month of June, subsidy would have expired. All right? So if subsidy was still ongoing up until October, where did the fund come from for that?
You see, I've always said it's a different fora that NNPC is a cesspool of corruption. There is nothing you want to talk about NNPC that is beneath NNPC. It's so sad that the mono economic driver in this country is so opaque that even if you beam the strongest searchlight, you are not going to see anything. It has been programmed so. It
was the World Bank that actually revealed this. They said the federal government of Bola Tinubu fully removed subsidy, in October of 2024, but that NNPC started its remittance of the 50% revenue from January 2025. So if it was in October that subsidy was completely removed, why did we start seeing increments in petrol at several filling stations? Why did we see petrol increase up to 1,000, 1,500? Where was the whole Dangote refinery situation coming up and saying that Dangote was going to help curb the coercive effect of the subsidy removal? So if that was the case, who were the people that were using that subsidy fund that we're hearing that it was in October 2025 that subsidy was fully removed? So right now as it stands, 2024, yes, and that it was in 2025 January that NNPC started remitting 50%, while the remaining 50%, they are using it to clear off arrears of some certain debts.
You see, the question is, even if you have your business,
okay,
a medium scale enterprise, even some small scale enterprise, there's a point to get to that you want to check your records to know how you are faring. Either you are making profit, your turnover, and all that. Not to talk of a national asset like NNPC. Since Buhari came into government, up till today, there is no audit in NNPC. So whatever anybody is saying about NNPC, you don't have to doubt, because there is no record to contradict whatever anybody is saying about that organization.
Okay.
NNPC is such a place where you are not refining, you are not doing anything, and you have MDs, executive directors, general managers, managers, and down the line. And the salaries of these people don't come cheap. And they are there gallivanting about over what? You have refinery that is not producing for more than 2-3 years. Yet workers are earning, the least paid worker in NNPC today will be earning maybe 260 to 300,000 naira a month. Conversely, you have the least paid worker in the federal establishment earning about 80-something thousand. So, and they attend the same market. So what are we talking about? NNPC is Nigeria's albatross.
No, but why wasn't the government of the day being transparent about this? If the president had come out in May during his inauguration to tell us fuel subsidies removed, if during the media chat, I think that media chat was between October, November, the president had told us that there was no position, there was no space, there was no even fund for subsidy payment. So why weren't they just honest about it? The World Bank had to bring in this. And beyond that, the World Bank is also telling us that the president's 2025 budget is overly ambitious. It says the revenue expectations are overly ambitious and they're faulting it.
You see, let me tell you, the day that budget was released in November was the day I told everybody that this is not a realistic budget. Because I knew that oil price will fall in the international market.
Okay.
If you are predicating your budget on $75 a barrel, and the outlook shows that there is going to be depreciation in the value of the crude in the international market, then what you needed to do, if you are honest with yourself, is to make sure that you find an average. Today it's 75. Now, what is the outlook? I was telling people then, I said, the moment that the crisis between Israel, Hamas, Hezbollah, Lebanon, and Iraq begins to thaw, the moment Ukraine-Russia crisis begin to abate, the moment we are getting out of winter, because there will be less demand for energy, there is no way there won't be glut. And once there is glut, price will drop.
All right,
it's elementary economics. But unfortunately, most Nigerians, we don't capture the real essence of our livelihood and living against what government is pushing out to us. Must we wait for World Bank to come and reveal to us all these indices we are talking about? The thing is out there, and I've always said it. I have on a number of occasions talked about NNPC that I'm almost giving up on that institution.
Okay.
Whereas conversely, look at LNNG, that is 51 point something percent private sector driven and maybe 48 point something public sector driven. And then NNNG is making huge profit and turnover to the extent that it's one of the revenue generating organ of government now, and that place is still secured, and there is no disruptions to their activities in that company. So, but why is it that our own here, that is majorly owned by the federal government, is not working? It is just because everything in our socio-economic life is being ordered by politics. And politicians in Nigeria, the politicians we have in this country, they are not bothered about development.
All right,
they look at short-term gains.
Okay.
That's why somebody would have 753 houses. To do what? That's somebody who is MD of a moribund refinery that is not generating income, not to talk of profit, has 80.6 billion naira in his account and is still counting.
Well, Mr. Dilifanimo, let's look at Benjamin Kalu today. He put up a bill called a Bill for an Act to Alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, CAP C-23, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to provide for the principle of rotation of offices of the President and the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria amongst the 6 geopolitical zones of the country: the North Central, the Northeast, Northwest, Southeast, South-South, and Southwest, and for related matters. It was turned down. Well, the idea for the rotational presidency was to have the representation of each of the regions, at the presidential level. Since 1999, you've been having the presidency rotate just between the North and the Southwest. And I think for now, it's the call for the Southeast. Now, a couple of persons have said that what leaders of peculiar qualities have the Southeast
have you
presented?
Forgotten the South-South?
And the South, well, yes, South for vice presidency role. That's true. So, I mean, if you look at the scenario like this, questions have been asked. These states are all rich producing states, but they have been put aside when it comes to presidential ambitions.
Which states?
The South. That is the South and the Southeast. In terms of
Southeast has their own time.
Who has their own time?
Jonathan.
Okay. But that was how many years did he stay there? 6 years. Okay, fine. What about the Southeast?
That is what we should be addressing now.
And that was why he was asking for that rotational presidency. But they debunked it. They said because the principle of federal character already covers that. But we can see that the principles of federal character doesn't cover it. If you look at the nominations, if you look at appointments at the ministerial level, basically the overwhelming representation there is the Southwest and the North. The South few, but the Southeast is of the lowest. So how does federal character representation cover this rotational presidency deal? It's almost like a means of going back to the regional system of government. So why did they debunk this? The House did not even look into this. They contended that the decision regarding the zoning should be left to individual political parties. And individual political parties only look at the Southwest and the North. Maybe sometimes the South for vice, or in very rare occasions, Southeast for vice.
You see, let me tell you, it's quite unfortunate that this is where we are. For me, I'm an apostle of who can do it
better,
not where this person is coming from.
Okay.
If it's going to be the Southeast that will present the best candidate, why not? If it's going to be the Northwest, why not? If it's going to be anywhere, you see. What we should be talking about in the National Assembly is let us expunge that exclusive clause of resources within states' boundaries. That is the only way we can solve this problem. All this one that, you see, power is not given a la carte.
Okay.
You have to fight for it.
So are you saying that people of that extraction don't fight for it?
You see, let me tell you, agitation is a process. It's not a journey that you know the destination.
No, I just need to have an understanding. When you say power is not served a la carte, this was exactly what the president said.
You see, why I'm saying this is that you need to take into consideration so many diversities.
Okay.
For instance, if Tinubu during the last election got most of his votes from the north and is not a northerner, why is it so? He started working for presidency back since 2006. Extending hours of fellowship, building bridges and all that, and the thing came to fruition. You see, if you stay in, let me give you an example. In my state, Ondo State, I am from the state capital.
Okay.
And I keep telling them, anytime there is a meeting and they are saying, Akure should produce the next governor, I say it's not going to happen. It will never happen. Because the whole of Akure and its environ is just 3 out of 18 local governments.
Okay.
And these 3 we are talking about, they are urban centers, where if you do demography on where everybody comes from, you find out that the Akure indigenes within that particular location is not up to half of other indigenes from other states, from other local government that reside in the state capital. So how are you going to, instead of you to fan out and begin to reach out to people in the southern part of the state and the northern part of the state, so that you can build a consensus over time, and they will now begin to look at you and say, okay, this man has done this, I've done this, at this time we need to pay back. You now sit in Akure, you are counting on a population that is not your own, and you say you want to become governor of Ondo State. It will never happen.
All right, Mr. Defanimo, we have time constraint. Let's look at the protest that took place today in Lagos. It's a continuation of what transpired at the APC primaries that was conducted on Saturday, and a couple of them feel that there was manipulation in the process, and there was some rigging that took place, and they're also calling on, they're saying that some candidates were imposed, some of these aspirants were imposed on them. So the police had to create a blockade, block the roads, and there was traffic along that Akbe road. Some of those axes experienced traffic while commuters couldn't really commute. But the question is, why would the APC still have complaints of this? Persons are supposed to go about their primaries. There are candidates being imposed. There is rigging within your own party. You're rigging. I don't understand, because yesterday I think I played it on the evening rush where somebody was.
What did you not understand?
I just want you to help me explain. I don't understand how you rig yourselves in your own party.
Look,
how you manipulate the election results in your own party amongst yourselves.
Let me tell you, if you are looking at rigging according to the exigency of situation,
okay,
then you are getting it wrong. Rigging is part and parcel of political culture. You only shout when it doesn't favor you. Look, since 1999, I've been in this Lagos. Nothing happens as happenstance. There must be something that builds up to certain things happening. And either you like it or not, in Lagos State, people emerge out of selection and not out of election.
Popular candidates were sidelined in favor of others in the primaries. So if they are selected, why conduct primaries then? Why waste funds to conduct primaries?
You have to make it look like you have conducted an election now. Don't you know?
Do you think this will be a deadly bombshell for them in 2027? There are talks that these individuals may be compensated, because the APC reacted and said they should send all their complaints. An appeal committee has been set up where they can listen to all their complaints and possibly resolve it. But these aspirants who are disgruntled and who feel sidelined or cheated may keep quiet and work against the party in 2027.
They are not going to keep quiet and work against any of these party people. The only thing is, I expected that with the fallout of this,
okay,
should have been an opportunity for the opposition to begin to harvest those who are aggrieved.
Okay.
And if they are strong in their constituency, they can be used to counterbalance whatever had been happening. But if you fold your arms and believe that these people, they have a way of settling them, there's so much. Do you know how much Lagos State generated last year? IGR 1.3 trillion. So how much are they going to make? How much are they going to spend to assuage these people? And there are so many positions. The ministry, department, and agencies, Lagos State, they can do a lot of things to assuage them. Instead of the opposition to cash in on this and begin to woo them and bring them back to their fold. You recall that when Fashola was almost denied ticket, other parties were angling for him, and that set is a serious warning to the powers that be in Lagos State. They have to reluctantly give him that ticket for a second time. What is the opposition doing? Somebody's in disarray, and you just sit back and be watching.
They're not taking advantage.
They're not taking advantage.
But is there any real opposition in Lagos?
Then is it the fault of APC that there's no opposition?
No, I'm just saying, because in Lagos, just like it was an APC state, so there's no opposition to counter anything. How many PDP did we see campaign? How many of them? What is in PDP in Lagos State now? What is in PDP? The candidate of the party in the last election at Japa to APC, the Nollywood actress that was the running mate, where is she talking politics? You see, there must be consistency
If you want a winning streak in politics, there must be consistency.
All right, Mr. Delifanimo, thank you so much for taking your time to give us your insight on some of these issues discussed here on the World News at 6. We sincerely do appreciate your input. Thank you very much. That was Mr. Delifanimo right there. And just before we wrap up, let's take a look at some stories outside the shores of Nigeria. Trump administration officials on Monday welcomed the first 59 white South Africans classified as refugees under an exception President Donald Trump made to his near-total ban on admitting fugitives from war and persecution. Trump's fast-tracked caveat for the Afrikaners who arrived in Washington, D.C. on the U.S.-funded charter flight drew outrage from refugee advocates and prompted the Episcopal Church to end its decade-old refugee settlement partnership with the federal government. Trump disclosed on Monday that he was admitting Afrikaners as refugees because of the genocide that's taking place in South Africa, where white farmers are being brutally killed and their land is being confiscated. That characterization, the Associated Press disclosed, has been strongly disputed by South Africa's government experts and even the Afrikaner group AfriForum, claiming white South Africans are persecuted is a total absurdity. White South Africans, who make up about 7% of the country's population, have remained by far the most privileged race since apartheid ended 30 years ago. Reuters disclosed they still own 3/4 of private land and about 20 times the wealth of the black majority. But claims of black discrimination against Afrikaners have been repeated so often in online chat rooms that it has become orthodoxy for the far right, echoed by Trump's white South African-born ally, Elon Musk. And now to wrap up, here again are the top stories. The House of Reps rejects bill on rotational presidency. Rivers women protest abduction of 8 wire candidates. Justice Iyako to deliver final judgment on Akpoti Uduaghan's suspension case on June 27. World Bank exposes NNPCL. Lagos police block roads near APC Secretariat amid protest, and white Afrikaners land in US as Trump declared refugees. That's a wrap on the World News at 6. My name is Esther Machuku. Good evening and thank you for listening.